This week, Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Gimenez is leading a delegation through China and Japan to get a first-hand look at the latest in transit technology as an option to help alleviate the county's transportation woes. Dubbed virtual trains or trackless trains, they would be part of the mayor's $534 million SMART plan to create a rapid transit bus system connecting Metro Rail to the north and south. A far cheaper alternative to building new rail lines, he says. The plan identifies 6 corridors throughout Miami-Dade, expanding public transportation services supported by a network of express buses. But since the plan was put in place 2 years ago, county commissioners and taxpayers have anxiously awaited the completion of studies on each of the corridors. Now a recent setback looks to delay the process by as much as a year. Here to share more is Miami-Dade County Commission Chairman Esteban Bovo. Mr. Chairman, great to have you with us once again.
Thank you for having me, Pat.
All right, so let's kick it off and talk about the mayor's trip to China and what he's actually looking to gain from this trip, looking at these trackless trains, if you will.
The mayor has been pretty consistent in his conversation as trying to look at other sources of technology that are not fixed, like rail, as an alternative to being able to deliver on the promise that was the PTP. And he's leading a delegation of a couple of commissioners and other county officials, I guess, to take a look at that technology and get a better assessment of it.
Well, and part of it has to do with money, right? We're talking about, he's basically come out and said, we don't have enough money in the SMART plan to go ahead and build more rail lines. And as we take a look at these pictures, I mean, it looks like a train. It's very sleek. It's got kind of that round shape. It runs on rubber wheels on this track, as you see it there.
Yeah.
But a lot of commissioners have looked at this. Some have gone with them on the trip. Some have not. Some have been very vocal that folks are not going to get out of their cars to get on, which is a glorified bus, right?
Yeah, and I think, Pam, the key to this discussion really needs to be is how are we going to build in the future? The transportation component of the way we build really needs to have some synergy with how we develop. For a long time, the way we've developed in Miami-Dade County has been build, connect by road, build, connect by road. Now that poor planning is coming to bite us, basically. So we have to figure out, how do we build in the future? How do we create a system that takes people where they want to go? The problem with the rubberized vehicles, even if it's a trackless train, is that it really doesn't promote the kind of development that we've been looking for as far as TODs. And I cite as 2 examples.
And explain what a TOD is.
A TOD, and forgive me, sometimes if I slip into government language, I want you to correct me
yes,
instantly.
I will.
Okay.
I'll call you out on it.
So transit-oriented developments
which means?
are basically developments that have transportation as its centerpiece to get people in and out of those developments. And I'll show 2 examples of it. Brickell and Dadeland are 2 fine examples in Miami-Dade County where you have transit components. In the case of Brickell, you have not only the Metro Rail, but you also have People Mover. In the case of Dadeland, you've got 2 metro stations literally at their doors. And what has happened over the course of time is that development has grown, density has increased, it has created ridership, and we literally have, for those folks in the South know what I'm talking about, a New York style transit experience for those that use our system heading into the downtown area from the South and those Dadeland areas. And what I have been saying for a while now is that we should look at those, not in the similar scale, because you don't have to build Daylands all over the place, or Brickles for that matter, but you can do it at different levels of development all along the South, East, West, North, South, that basically create centers that not only you live, you work, you play, and maybe, just maybe, starts changing our traffic patterns also in the county.
Okay, but this all sounds great, and people agree with you, and I think the majority of people in Miami-Dade County would love to see trains. We would love to have a train that takes us where we need to go.
Sure.
I would love that, because you get more productive that way. You can ride the train, you can read the paper, you can get more work done.
Agreed.
Who wants to sit in their car? The bottom line, though, is money, because when you're looking at the SMART plan, there just isn't enough money in the SMART plan to go forward with this, because by estimates, it's going to cost, what, about $1.4 billion to do what we want to do and to create these 6 corridors. In 2002, we passed the half-penny sales tax. The money just isn't there to do it. So it was a promise to the people that has failed. Explain that. What happened with that half penny sales tax?
The half penny was the ultimate bait and switch that was proposed at a time where folks bought into it and thought this is important. We need to invest in transportation. Unfortunately, the half penny went to pay salaries, went to pay maintenance, went to basically be a stopgap in the budget. The charrette that we showed the voters, and let me back up for a second.
Sure.
The charrette that was shown to the voters, and I wasn't on the board at the time. In fact, I advocated against it when I was in the city council in Hialeah, was that the half penny wasn't enough. And we gave the impression that there was going to be Metro Rail all over our community, that by now there would be Metro Rail at the door of FIU. And it made sense for a lot of us in this community because that's the vision we wanted. Fast forward, we've only really built a bit of an extension from one station to the airport, which the state pretty much funded. Other than that, there's not a lot to show for it. And that has, I think, fed this appetite of anger against the half penny. And I've said many times, the half penny's in jeopardy if something doesn't happen, and something doesn't happen in short order. But the half penny's not enough. We have, on the board now, we have made a decision that a lion's share of that money needs to go into a pot of money that goes to expansion of the system. But it's still not enough. That's about maybe $2 billion, if that. We've created what is a tax increment financing districts. We have taken all the corridors, a mile radius down from the center of the corridor, south, east, west, north to the beach, and basically have dictated that the properties along those areas with the proper zoning can not only promote better density, smarter building, which then addresses a multiple of issues, but first and foremost, as those property values go up, the first 4.5% always goes to the county for its budgeting purposes, but everything above that 4.5%, it could be 5%, 2%, 8%, would go directly into the corridor. Our budget folks have said that that alone, over a 30-year period, could generate $2 billion. So between the half penny and the TIFs, now we're looking at somewhere around, maybe conservatively, $3.5 billion in revenue that we could use to be able to pay for the system.
So that's something you're going to have to present to the commission to get a vote on, correct?
The TIF's already been presented, it's already passed. The next step with that would be the zoning component. And what we haven't talked about yet is public-private partnerships. If you create the mechanisms that could show a path to serious dollars, the private companies could come in now and actually expedite the building process for us, where we don't have to do it, as long as we have availability payments to be able to match or to be able to fund long-term what we'd like to build.
We're running out of time, and one of the other issues too are these environmental studies. Speak to that. Those are taking a long time.
Too much time, and we've asked, and I was invited to the White House with the specific mission of showing our SMART plan, and my specific ask of the president was that we needed to look at the environmental regulatory process, and we needed that to be sharpened down, not 3 or 4 years, a year and a half, so that we know what we want to do. And in many cases, here's the sad part, these corridors have already been studied. There's no need to continue these studies on and on and on to get to an outcome that we already know.
It's taking so long.
Way too long.
Okay, quickly too, also in the Herald this week was a report about affordable housing and where Miami-Dade and Miami rank low on the bottom. Not a lot of affordable housing. It all ties into transportation too. In order to work downtown, a lot of these service industry jobs, folks have to live way west. So talk about how we can address affordable housing here in our community.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'll tell you, there's a teacher out there, there's a police officer, firefighter that has a struggle being able to find a place to live on the salary that they're earning, at least a starting salary. So ironically, the transportation that I've just talked about helps this. Properties that the county owns or government owns, whether it's a county or a municipality, we have the ability to encourage developers by giving them incentives, more density, better credits. We have the ability to request that, or demand, better said, that they build workforce housing. And this is, again, this is not brand new. This is something that's being done all over the country. You incentivize developers by giving them the density that we need to create the property value. At the same time, all we ask them to do is, in a building, for example, that you're going to build 80 units, we want you to set aside 20 for workforce housing. And what we've found is that they're willing to do it as long as the proper credits are put on the table. It's happening now on our current Metro Rail system at the Douglas entrance, where a developer is going to develop basically envelop the metro station And in exchange, we've asked them to add workforce housing to their component.
Okay, and then speak to the county is suing the Marlins for money it says is owed because of the sale of the team.
The Marlins baseball deal literally even affects the conversations we've had about transit. One of the indecisions is that bad deal permeates everything that we do in the county. I cannot, as a resident of Miami-Dade County, get my mind around the fact that you just sold the team for $1.2 billion and you bought the team for about $200 million. And you're still claiming that you lost money. Well, that math doesn't jive anywhere. And I think we need a pure transparency, a total accountability. By the way, the reason you sold the stadium for not you obviously, but the Marlins sold it for $1.2 billion is because the stadium deal that they had allows them to keep all the concessions and all the revenues, and that it add value to the team.
Right.
So to me, it's almost disrespectful and really an affront to the residents of Miami-Dade County to claim that the Marlins did not make any money and therefore they do not owe the taxpayers any money.
Chairman Bovo, great to have you with us, as always.
A lot of topics.
Thanks so much. A lot of topics.
My pleasure.
Indeed. And do you have a comment or a question about the topics that we discussed here today? We'd love to hear from you. Send us your take on these or other issues impacting you and your community. You can reach us on Facebook and Twitter @YourSouthFL. Send us a message or a video. We look forward to hearing from you.